Oh, there it goes.
A
It's always
little
a little
delay.
delay.
Little delay.
Hi, good morning. It's May 18th already.
Wow, is it May already?
May 18th. It's like the end of May. It's 10 a.m. on the West Coast, 1 o'clock on the East Coast. Welcome to Clutch Radio. We're doing
Clutch
things.
Radio.
Oh my God, Clutch Radio. It says at CarYada everywhere. I said Clutch Radio. You know, it took
Formerly Clutch Radio.
How long did it take me to stop saying Car News? Because that's what my show was before.
Car News.
When we did Clutch Radio, I had Car News on KFWB in Los Angeles.
Oh, you were on KFWB?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I
Yes, you
remember that
did.
station. No, I knew you were on. I didn't know it was KFWB.
I was on
News 98.
I was on
Yeah, I remember
97.1, the FM talk station, KLSX for a while.
Yeah, I remember
And
that
then
one.
KFWB switched to News Talk.
Okay.
They added Dr. Laura.
And
And they want to do a car show on the weekends.
Laura
and so,
Schlesinger.
Yes, Laura Schlesinger.
She was one of the first ones to talk about relationships and intimate stuff on radio.
Dr. Ruth was probably the first.
Was Dr. Ruth before Schlesinger?
Oh, yeah. Dr. Ruth is in like the 70s.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She's like 104, still banging.
Is she still alive?
She's still having sex.
No, I don't want to hear it.
With the little diggity. Yeah. Welcome to the show. We're a little more casual. We're a little more laid back.
Yes, we're trying to
stare at the camera the whole time.
Not the whole time.
We used to have a monitor, and my computer's not working with the monitor, the external monitor.
Well, tell the truth. The intern that we have stole the monitor.
Okay, yeah, that I wanted an auction. But this way, Raffi's not staring at himself the whole time.
Yes,
because that was part of the problem. Is he'd be like talking, going,
adjusting my hair.
Yeah,
it was got to be perfect.
Anyway, welcome to CarYada.
Yes,
thank you, Raffi and Dan. I'm going to start today's show by talking about our project car.
Oh yes,
the 1968.
68.
You sound shocked. You know?
I'm just teasing you.
Oh,
Clutch Radio. 68.
It's gonna be a long hour.
Cabaret.
If you have questions, I'm putting this up now. If you have any questions, put them in the comments.
Comments are here.
You can also email the show at CarYada@CarYada.com. Excuse me. So we bought a 1968 Ford LTD Country Squire station wagon.
That's a mouthful.
Yes, it's got the faux wood paneling that's missing.
Yes,
it's teal blue.
French wood panel. Faux.
Faux.
Yes.
Faux is fake.
Yes, but
you can get real, genuine. I love when they have genuine faux wood paneling. What we're going to do with this vehicle is first, it didn't have a key. And luckily, the gentleman we purchased it from had already removed the key cylinder. So all I had to do, even though I bought a new one, all I had to do was take that key cylinder to a local locksmith.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool place in Bremerton, King's Locksmith. The guy, it's like a museum of locks.
Of locks.
Yes. And apparently there was he's a big Titanic. There's a big model of a Titanic in there.
And this was in Kingston?
No.
Where was it? Bremerton?
Bremerton.
I would think that it would be in Ballard at the Ballard Locks.
But his name is King. That's where you got Kingston from.
That must be it. Yes.
Oh, jeez. So these are gonna be all dad jokes today.
Not all.
So I go in and I go, I need a key made for this. And he goes, okay. And he pulls out literally this huge key ring filled with Ford keys.
Wow.
And I'm thinking these are just where he stores his old Ford keys. And he sits down, he goes, all right, it's going to be a while. And he starts, put a key in, put a key in. He's got 160 keys. Wow. Each has a different lock on each side.
Yeah.
And he put it in, try it, flip it, try it, until you get to the key that works. For classic Ford, I don't know what years that covers, but there were only 320 combinations of keys.
I'm going to guess it covers 67 to 73, because I had a 73 Mustang that had a very similar key to the one I remember seeing that we were trying. And I would guess that it starts back in 67, because prior to that, I think in 67 is the first year of the key and the steering wheel tumbler. And then, although 68 might be the first year, I can't remember exactly. Maybe our
this isn't in the steering
listeners
wheel.
do.
This is in the dash.
This one's in the dash.
This is a dash one.
Oh, okay.
The 68 is the dash one. So if you know anything about the keys, Jerry, the keys. And it looked like Kramer's keys from Seinfeld.
That big ring with all those
160 keys. And he sat there and he just kept turning
until he got
the one that worked. That's the only way to do it.
Which means technically, if you are walking around a vintage Ford show,
you have a 1 in 320 chance of that key working in a car.
Well, that's interesting.
We'll see how long those keys were. We could probably Google it, or somebody probably knows. Adam says, "Nice hat, Dan."
Yeah,
it's my Polestar hat that I got when I got my new Polestar, because I always throw that into the negotiation. And Jake's Pickup says, "Good morning."
Good morning to Jake's
Pickup. You're not following Jake's Pickup on YouTube, by the way. Great videos.
Are they?
Great video. What do you mean, are they? You've watched them?
Well, I've watched some of them, but are there? I didn't know that he put on new content.
Yeah. Now, Jake's talking Corvettes, of course. 69 Corvette is the first key in column, but that's for
General Motors.
What about for Ford?
That's the question. Key in column started. I know my 73 had key in column. The 69 had key in. Did the 69 have key in column?
So 68 might be the last one.
It could be. It could be.
I could Google it.
We could find out.
We're not going to do that yet. So the guy goes through, and I'm walking around his shop. He's got just old safes, and he's got an old motorcycle. He's got a really cool, very, very old pinball machine. Just stuff all over the place. I keep walking. I don't want to make him think that I'm like lurking, but I have nothing else to do, and I don't want to stare and watch him. All of a sudden, I hear that. There it is. I go, "How many keys were left?" He's like, 13. I go, "You started on the wrong end." He goes, "Well,
you never know."
And then I
it's
said,
always the last one too.
Well, yeah,
because
keep going. It's always in the last place you look.
Yeah.
So I said, so $60.
$60. Hey,
and he cut me 2 keys. I included 2 keys. And then I said, if you would have found it like in the 3rd key, would it have been cheaper? He goes, "No, it's the same price no matter what." Like, no sense of humor.
Yeah.
I'm like, if yeah.
Well, you got to think of it this way. I mean, this guy has saved these keys for decades to use them. Now, what are the chances?
I'm sure you buy the set.
Yeah, but how many times does somebody come in looking for a 1968 key for a Ford?
I'm going to Google.
I mean, what are the odds of that need from a locksmith? Most people with vintage cars, they keep their keys, they make extras, and even if they have extra keys, most people, when they get the keys, the main key, they're going to get another set of keys.
All right.
And they're single plane. They're not
double.
No, they're two-dimensional. In other words, like a modern Honda key from the 2000s has multiple combinations, more than just it's contoured differently.
So this says
this is just a flat key.
Family of fine cars, Ford key, double-sided. Somebody here says my 69 Mercury has a key like that. Somebody says my 69. Into the 80s for sure. My 84 LTD has the same key.
Oh, into the 80s. Okay.
I don't think they changed much until late 70s, early 80s.
My 72 LTD convertible had that key.
Looks identical to my 89 key. Looks like my 66 Thunderbird key.
66.
I had a 69 LTD with the same key. So here's a bunch of people that somebody found this key in their backyard. And so they were trying to figure out.
Well, and vintage keys, actually, there's a lot of interest in vintage keys, particularly for cars. People sell them on eBay all the time. I see them in collections, just piles of vintage keys, oftentimes from locksmiths, or people buy them from a giant box of keys, that sort of thing. And people buy them, and you can recut a pre-cut key to get it to fit into a different tumbler. So sometimes people will do that as well. And the key blanks, if they are blank and never been cut, and they have the original Ford logo or the General Motors logo, those are worth money because they're hard to find.
Yeah. Now here's somebody that's saying that they think these keys went from the 20s.
Those keys?
Ford used the same double-sided key.
From the 20s?
Yes.
No.
Until the 80s.
No, not that key. I don't agree with that.
Somebody says their key was lost. They took out the glove box lock, made a key from a code. Now they have a new trunk key. But that's if you use the code.
So depending on the series Ford, the trunk key will have a round shape at the head where you turn it.
This Ford from this generation is a one key.
Right, because it doesn't have a trunk. But the trunk key will sometimes be different from the ignition key, which is also different from the door key. The door key, yeah. The door key and the ignition key are the same, but the trunk key is different. Not on all Fords, but on my Mustangs, and same thing.
You're right, it's a small key.
Yeah, it's a smaller key with a smaller length as well.
That was for valet, so they couldn't get in your trunk. You just give them the key, they get the door in the car, but you can't get the trunk.
And the glove box also different key.
The little one that you can. Was it the trunk key?
I can't remember.
Imagine you have 3 keys that they give you.
Italian cars have key for the gas cab, key for the ignition,
key for the pasta,
pasta key.
The pasta key. I can't find an answer. You have so many keys. It's rare, but it does happen. But okay. If anybody else knows, it sounds like a Dan Lindquist question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It seems like he would know. So it was just funny that, I was thinking the guy was going to go with these little precision tools, and he'd look at the tumblers and he'd write down these numbers and have the, big glasses on and be looking. And he's just sitting there
with keys.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Ones that work.
Adam mentioned your Polestar hat.
Yes.
And last night we went to the concert. Saw Yuja Wang play piano. Unbelievable, by the way. Totally different conversation. Yuja Wang, a young.
I'm sorry.
No,
she said Yuja Wang.
No, that's not what I said. Oh my goodness,
Yuja Wang.
No, that's not what I said. Oh
Did
my.
You say Yuja Wang?
No.
It's too early
don't say that. That's awful. But that's no.
Your last name is Wang. Your first name should not be Hugh or Huja.
It's Huja.
Oh
my goodness! Oh, no! She's brilliant.
Okay,
she's probably the most celebrated contemporary pianist, classical pianist in the world today.
And what does it have to do with Polestar?
Because we were coming home from that concert.
Oh, and where was the concert?
Seattle. So
Benaroya?
Yes.
Oh, very nice hall.
And it was sold out. The place was packed.
People there to see a huge Wang.
Yes. So we get in the car to drive home. I get onto the main road to get towards the highway. There's a car behind me following very closely. Now, as you know, I know vehicle signatures fairly well. I go, that's Dan's car behind me. And it was a Polestar.
It wasn't me.
No, it wasn't you. And who I think it's you are right on my bumper.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
And literally like owning my bumper. And I'm like, no, this isn't Dan. Dan wouldn't do that. He's on my bumper. So I get on the highway, and I'm actually going pretty good clip on the inside roads. So hit the light, get on the highway. I romp on it and take off. So he didn't think I was, and off I went. And I thought, if it's Dan, he's gonna chase me. And sure enough, he chased me right up onto my bumper. I'm like, wow, this guy's really close. And Carolyn goes, that better not be Dan. I'm gonna talk to Becky.
She's gonna tell on me.
So I pulled off to take the side road, and he went zipping by like 80 miles an hour.
And it was a white one?
No, it wasn't white.
Well, that wasn't me.
I know it wasn't you.
Yeah, the car's fast.
That car is unbelievably fast.
Yeah. And it's going to be very expensive soon because it's going to hit the Chinese tariff. The tariffs are now 25% on cars imported from China. It's the only Chinese car in the country because it's part of Volvo.
Yes.
A little piece of Volvo still. But Volvo is owned by Geely, who is a Chinese company.
Yeah.
Now, they are making the Polestar 3 in the United States, and it is $74,000 starting price, whereas mine is like $49,000 starting price. And then,
but nobody gets them for $49,000.
No, you can't even equip it that way. And then the Polestar 4 is actually cheaper than the Polestar 3. It's going to be made in South Korea. So the 3 is the most expensive of all of them, but it's made in America. But they've had issues. They haven't launched them yet. So the 4s actually might come out before the 3, which is crazy. Oh, Dan says his 67 Mustang has a squarish door ignition key and a round trunk key.
Yeah.
So his key is one of the 320 combinations.
That's right. And through the 60s and 70s, I think they ran that type of key. But at some point, they must have realized we better come up with a better way of doing this.
Yeah. Well, you know, the little black chiclet key on like the
General
Motors.
Yeah.
There are only 15 of those.
Only 15 chiclets?
Chiclets. It's all based on how many ohms is coming out of it. You can actually test it, and whatever you put the little thing on each side, it gives you a number, and that's the key you have. There's 15 of them.
Oh.
But the key itself is different.
Okay.
But the actual chip, we always thought you had to do that directly to the chip. So got a little wheeze this morning. Allergies, maybe.
Perhaps.
Wednesday night, just a quick plug. We have
Coming
a comedy special taping at Bainbridge Performing Arts. Tickets are flying off the shelves.
I will be there.
Raffi will be there. We're also screening the sitcom. Adam will be there. We know that.
Adam's going to be there. Most of the Bainbridge Island Car Club will be there.
Here's a good question. Ray says, what is fundamentally wrong with those Kia and Hyundai engines that cause the ticking, then the tapping, then the clunk, and it's over? Each and every used one I find taps like a woodpecker ready for the scrapper, and they're only 4 to 5 years old. Here's what I think.
Okay.
People that buy those cars, they're cheap cars, and they have a warranty, 100,000-mile warranty. They assume the engines are bulletproof, and they don't get their engine oil changed often enough. Those engines you have to do often.
Yes.
And if you don't follow what they recommend, which I think is 7,500 miles, 6 months, 7,500 miles, your warranty is voided, and they will not cover anything that's wrong with the engine. I think that's why so many of these cars are ending up in the junkyards, in the junk auctions. That's my opinion. What do you think? What say you, Raffi?
So you're right about oil, and you're right about oil changes for small, we'll just say small capacity engines, 4 cylinders. You need to change your oil on a regular basis. They recommend 7,500, but if you're not using synthetic motor oil, I recommend every 5,000 miles after 50,000 miles. So your first 50,000 miles, you can get away with 7,500. If you live in an area that does not have a lot of dust, does not have a lot of dry dust roads, things like that, I recommend 7,500 up to 50,000, and after that, 5,000. After 100,000 miles, if your oil is getting very dirty at the 5,000 mile change, you want to up that to 3,500 miles and start changing your oil at 3,500 miles. Again, unless you're using synthetic motor oil. Synthetic motor oil will not break down as much as regular motor oil, but even modern formulation motor oils that are not synthetic are actually much better than the older oil. Just to give you an idea of what we used to do when I was a kid.
With the round can and the spout you have to stick in it?
Exactly. When I was a kid, I would change the oil in the cars with my dad, and we would drain the oil into a pan. We'd take that pan and take it over to a bucket that had a screen on it, and I'd pour the oil into the screen, and the screen would act as a sieve, and the oil would go into the bucket, and then there'd be particles in the screen, guck, muck, whatever.
Right.
Sometimes even metal shavings.
Not
Dad
good.
would say, run a little magnet through there, see if there's any metal shavings. And then we'd take that oil, and instead of throwing it away,
Put it back in.
We'd put it back into the car.
Which is what the filter is supposed to do.
It's what the filter's supposed to do. And you take the filter out, and sometimes we'd wash the filter and put it back in.
Now, I saw a video today. 2 questions. Somebody was talking about AMSoil.
Yes.
Or AMSoil.
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 Yeah.
American oil or soil. And the guy had a filter, and he put magnets on the filter.
You could do that.
And so the magnets would, as the oil went in, if there were any metal parts, the magnet would pull it. And I know a lot of times they also magnetize the drain plug to catch.
Yeah. So here's the thing: if your engine is making particulate metal, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And so you got bigger problems anyway. Your oil pan should not be collecting any kind of metal shavings or particles or anything like that. If it is, then it's time to get some rings for your pistons.
Put a ring on it.
Yeah. Now, and if you're going to go to that trouble, you're probably going to have to do a lot more engine work anyway. Now, back to the Kia. If you are getting excessive wear due to oil consumption for whatever reason, the engine is breaking down without the right amount of oil or without the proper fresh oil in your engine, as your engine heats up, that impacts the metals that are rubbing, mostly the rings against the cylinder walls, and you do start to get more friction, and more friction will heat things a little bit more. And that means that, because the oil is not only lubricating, it's also cooling a little bit.
Right.
So
Dan water says glitter on the drain plug, not good.
Yes. So the water is going around the engine through the water jackets that are cooling the engine, and the oil is going up and down inside the piston area, keeping everything nice and smooth and lubricated. So if you don't do that, then yes, Ray, what happens is, as the car gets older, you'll start experiencing problems with the engine. The tapping sounds you'll hear will be valve clatter, tapping. It sometimes it can be exhaust, but most of the time it's drivetrain clatter, and that could actually be remedied without taking the engine apart. You can do some top end work. You can do valve adjustments. You can also replace valves. That's not doing the whole engine.
Right.
And if it's a 4-cylinder, there's only the one head that you're working
16 valves.
Well, you would have 16 valves possibly, and it's not exorbitantly expensive. But if a car is worth $5,000 and you're going to spend $3,000 to have the head rebuilt, it's oftentimes not worth it. So they just move the car down the road and off it goes, or they trade it in and they say the car runs fine, and dealer takes it in on trade. They give them $1,200. It goes to the auction, and they sell it for $800, even though they've got the credit on the unit.
Right. So the bottom line is, Kia and Hyundai engines, and it's their GDI engine that tends to be the one that's always bad. And I think that when you get, and if you have a one owner, I would bet you that they don't have that problem. The initial owner probably is taking care of it. It's when they get the used car market and you get people that they have horrible credit and they're paying 28% interest on the car and they don't maintain the car. Those cars are not well maintained in the secondary market. And I'm just saying cheap cars in general, not just Hyundai and Kia.
Well, and let's be fair on that distinction. Many times people neglect automotive maintenance because they view it as a lower priority than other things that might be impacting their family. There could be health-related issues.
I'm talking about the payment. If the payment's so high, they're like, I got to make my payment. I can't lose my car, so they're not going to spend the money to go get their oil change.
Well, that's true, but oil changes are not that expensive. What it comes down to, I think, with a lot of deferred maintenance on automobiles for people that are under high stress life situations.
You're trying to be politically correct?
I'm trying to be fair and politically correct. Is that many people don't take the time that you need to take to go get an oil change. And an oil change takes a long time. Even though you have these quick lube places, you take your car there. Let's assume you take the time to make an appointment. And now they say, yes, we can take you in. Or you just go and you wait in line. You get there early. Well, you're there early at 8:30. And
they start at 9:30.
Right. And before you know it, it's 10 something.
And they're trying to upsell you on 9 other things you need.
Right. And you don't need.
So people, they're like, I hate going there. So they just don't do it.
So they just don't do it. And so they say, well, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It's not due for a while. And before you know it, 5,000 or 7,500 becomes 8,000, becomes 10,000. And then by the time you get there and you go and you do it, the assumption is that these places are efficient and do a good job. But many of these quick oil places, they'll take some of the oil out, not all of the oil. So a little bit remains inside. They don't do a complete drain job or a complete suction for all of it.
Right.
And so what happens is you have a fair amount remaining in the car that is not good. and then they stuff in oil that they say is good quality oil, but it may not be. And sometimes they will overfill because, again, many of the people there are young, inexperienced. They're not mechanics. They're technicians that have been taught how to do the work to get the customer in and out. And so they may overfill your car, which is also problematic, sometimes even more problematic than underfilling your car. And then off you go thinking you're good for another 7,500 miles when you're not. Some people have had things like that done. Some people have had drain plugs not properly replaced and the car leaks oil.
Or they strip it and then it's always,
Yep. Sometimes they forget to put the fill cap back on or put it on incorrectly. And that creates new problems.
Or they don't change the filter.
They don't change the filter, exactly.
If the filter looks good, I've heard of places where they just wipe it off.
Wipe it off, make it look fresh.
Nice. It looks fresh, or they put a fresh sticker on it.
Yep.
And call it a day. I mean, it's not that much time savings.
Yeah. But... And if you go in and they tell you, we're going to give you a lube oil and filter. What they used to do is they used to lubricate your chassis. There used to be fittings inside the chassis.
What did they do to your car?
They used to lubricate your chassis. They would go to the fittings, the grease fittings, and put grease into the fittings so that the chassis would, and there's none of that now. There's no lubricating a chassis anymore. Everything is completely, you don't even have a chassis. You have a flat floor with a unibody construction and suspension from the unibody.
Right.
So all you're getting is 5 quarts of oil, depending on your capacity, and you're getting an oil filter. And oil filters used to be this big. They're now like this big. So oil filters are much smaller.
We didn't even know.
We didn't even know. They're much smaller and therefore need to be changed more frequently because they don't have the capacity to hold up the bad stuff.
Now, Ray has a couple more questions.
Okay.
I picked up an Audi Allroad 2005. We're a little familiar with those.
Yes.
Sold one. Why were those 40 to 50K 20 years ago? Were they revolutionary, the way they move up and down with airbags?
No. The Audi Allroad was a really, really advanced car for its time because it had all-wheel drive, and many cars at that time did not leverage the all-wheel drive idea or concept. They were full leather. They had all power options, power windows, power brakes, power,
I used to call them a luxury Subaru.
That's a good way of putting it, a luxury Subaru. But they were part of Audi's movement to get to a more luxury status. They had done that in the United States in the 80s with the Audi 5000, but it took a long time for them to get rid of the stigma associated with unintended acceleration with the Audi 5000. So that really killed their premium market status, which they had started to build. So with the Audi Allroad, they were able to regain some momentum and build the brand at the higher level. Now, Ray, if your Audi Allroad is a manual transmission Allroad, that is a very valuable car. That is a rare car, and it's very sought after. Audi Allroads in good condition can get anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000, but one in good condition that is a manual transmission will be $20,000.
Well, these are either one owner, like the one that you sold on Bring a Trailer.
Yes.
With good history.
Yes.
I've seen Audi Allroads go through the auction for $300 because they're beat to crap.
Well,
150,000 miles, automatics, the airbag suspension doesn't work anymore.
Yep.
Every button in it is worn and white because it's been overused.
Yep.
The build quality on the interior of those were not great, in my opinion, for long-term wear. They're lower mileage. They look good.
I agree.
The green on green one, though, that was a rare.
Yes. It was a nice combination. But the Audi Allroad is sought after by many Audi enthusiasts, and there are a lot of Audi people.
Is a POS.
It's a POS. Of course it is.
He bought from his own auction. What'd you pay for it, Ray? Tell us about it a little bit more.
Probably $800.
Dan says he recently drained a Toyota pickup with pudding coming out, and very little of it. Kind of surprised him it still ran.
Well,
it's a Toyota.
Yeah, it's a Toyota. If you've never seen I think
$600 you paid for it.
600. There you go. If you've never seen, I think it's a Top Gear episode where they tried to demolish a Toyota pickup truck, and they literally ended up dropping it from a helicopter, and it still starts and runs. And they actually bring it into you can check it on YouTube.
Top Gear
Toyota. Yeah. And it's insane how durable those cars are. They literally, Toyotas thrive on neglect, and they're the ideal car for you if you don't want to spend a lot of time and money on maintenance. Buy a Toyota. They're unbelievably reliable, very durable automobiles. I say the same for excuse me. I say the same for Hondas, but for some reason, because Honda doesn't make a truck,
we have the Ridgeline.
Well, that's not really
it's a pickup truck.
Well,
it's not like a heavy duty truck.
That's more like an SUV that
has a pickup
ended up with a bed in the back,
or a minivan.
Yeah, but because Honda doesn't make a truck, I tend to view Toyota as the more durable of the brands, because Toyota branded pickup trucks, unbelievable how durable those cars are.
So recommendation. So what we've learned today:
yes,
don't buy Kia or Hyundai used.
Yes.
Don't buy an Audi all-road unless it's a stick shift with under 100,000 miles.
Yes.
And don't buy anything but Toyotas and maybe some Hondas. Well, right. That's the show. We never have to do another show.
If you're looking for durable, reliable, low-cost transportation, you cannot beat the lower to mid-value Japanese sedans.
Get a Camry, get a Corolla, get an Accord.
They're
your Accord's got 260,000
to 250,000 miles. Yeah, and fantastic.
Barely broken in.
It's barely broken.
It's cream
exactly.
puff. Cream
exactly.
Puff. Air blows cold.
It does. I'm telling you. And it's not a rattle trap. It rides smoothly.
Yeah.
You get it on the highway, 60, 70 miles an hour, cruise all day long.
Do we have any questions? Anybody else in the comments? We don't at the moment. So do we have an old school?
We could go old school. I got a fun old school.
Oh, he's got a fun old school.
Yep.
Oh, wait, hold on. Ray sent a picture.
That's the Audi All-Road. Yeah, there it is.
All right, let's open this up real quick. We'll show Ray's All-Road. Here it is. 2005, 2.7T.
Okay.
Lane B, run 192. Was this CarMax? Where'd you get this? Yeah, I guess that's CarMax. Yeah, the other thing that's always weird. Look how the difference in color. These things wear weird.
Yeah, they do.
You think that was changed out, and it probably wasn't. But it's like a weird brownish color.
Mm-hmm.
And then the gray here, and then the dark gray here. Yeah. Good call. Good. I mean, $600 is not a loser, but you should get your money back, I would think.
Yeah, I think that's entirely possible.
All right. And while we're waiting for Raffi to look on his phone, because he's probably going to get some old school ideas.
No, I'm just checking one thing before to make sure I don't forget it. Yep.
All right.
Okay.
We're going to start a little old school. Where'd it go? There it is.
All right. Today we're going old school, and to go old school today, we're going to England. That's right. The UK, the United Kingdom, the home of the King and the Queen. Now, there are many automobiles that have been designed and developed in the UK, but the United Kingdom has one of the most interesting aspects of automobile development that was supported for many, many years, called the cottage industry.
Oh, I was a pull up a cottage. Okay.
Yeah. Cottage industry UK cars are small automobile manufacturers that were built in literally cottages. Now, there are many of them. Morgan, for example, started out Cottage, Lotus, and many others. But the company that has endured for quite a bit of time and has become synonymous with low-cost sports cars is MG.
The MG.
Yes, and the one we're going to look at today in old school is the MG Midget. Now, the Midget was the smallest version of the MG, and it was made between 61 and 79. Now, think about that. That's an 18-year span for an automobile, and the design did not significantly change during the time they manufactured the Midget. And it's a great-looking car. It's small, compact. It's like...
can you call it midgets now?
Well, you can. That was the name.
Okay.
So you can call it a midget.
Okay.
It's okay.
All right, just making sure.
And unlike the MGA and the MGB, the Midget was small, very low cost, and very easy to maintain. Now, it was considered competitive with the Austin Healey Sprite, which was also a UK vehicle.
Can you call a short person a Sprite? I think so.
I think so.
All right.
Now,
they only made it in red, according to Wikipedia. Every picture is red.
Now, the MG Midget has a lot of really good qualities about it. It's a small two-seat sports car, open sports car, so the top goes down and you can drive it as a convertible. It has a very, very nice sized trunk. So if you're using it as a weekend getaway car, there's plenty of space for soft weekend luggage. It's got a long hood and a short deck. So your sitting position is actually very traditional sports car. They're almost all, I think only in later years did they make them automatic, but they're almost all stick shift. So you get all the excitement and joy of driving a really high-powered performance sports car. But I think the average horsepower output in a Midget might have been 75 horsepower. Now you can increase their performance. These were standard from the factory. They came with twin carburetors, and they're 4-cylinder engines, by the way. But you can supercharge them, and you can also bore out the motor, get a little bit more horsepower. You get 100 to 110 horsepower into an MG Midget, and boy, those will really take off. Now, the other thing that people did, because there is room to do this, you can take that 4-cylinder engine out and put in a small capacity V6 or V8 engine.
Wow.
And
fit a V8 in there?
You can get a V8 engine in there. And then, boy, all bets are off, because that's a heck of a road car. Of course, you'd have to beef up the suspension, put slightly wider tires on it, and change some other things. But even stock trim, 70, 75 horsepower, 4-speed manual gearbox, you're going to have a lot of fun. One of the best things about these cars is they've never gone up in value.
It's very cheap.
They are very inexpensive. You can get a fixer anywhere from $500 to $1,500. Sometimes people will just tell you, come and haul it away. Don't buy a rusty one, because you don't want to spend a lot of money on body work, and body work is expensive regardless of the value of the vehicle. But you can get a pretty nice one, ready to go, driver ready, for less than 10 grand.
All right, here's one.
Okay.
Take a look at it.
All right.
Barn find, runs and drives, floors are not rusted, perfect for someone wanting to restore it.
Mm-hmm. Looks pretty good. It's got a little bit of rust. Yeah, if this car is more than $3,000, I'd be shocked.
You're close, $3,500.
Okay.
71.
Yeah. So you get that for $3,500. Yeah, you've got some cosmetic work you'd need to do to it. You might need some interior and freshening and things like that. But there are not many vintage sports cars, open sports cars, that you can get for that money. Now, you go to buy one that's really nice and done well, and if you end up spending $10,000, $12,000, okay. And then you go to sell it after you've enjoyed it, used it, had some fun with it, and even if you lost $2,000, $3,000, so what?
That's what you paid for the enjoyment.
That's right.
Our friend Kevin has an MG, but it's not a midget.
That's right.
I
think it's an MGB.
Yeah, MGB. It's a bigger one.
Yes.
I drove it in the 4th of July drive around during COVID.
Yeah.
It's a nice little car.
Yeah.
And every time I see one, I've seen a few for $1,000, $1,500. I reach out to Kevin. He goes, don't.
Yes.
If you ever want to buy an MG, talk to someone that owns an MG and they will tell you don't.
The key proposition to owning an MG is you have to have some mechanical facility. And not only that you can do it, but you have to have some place where you can pull that car into your garage, open the hood, take the carburetors off, put them on your bench, rebuild the carburetors, put it back on, realize you did it incorrectly, take them back off, do it again, then call a bunch of people who really know what they're doing, ship your carburetors to them, they rebuild them, then you put them back on your car.
But they put them on wrong, so now you've got to take it to a mechanic. You have to make sure you have good roadside assistance for the tow.
Exactly. So unless you really know what you're doing, and you buy a car that has some mechanical needs, just be prepared for that. I think I know what I'm doing mechanically, but I've had that problem with some of my cars.
I have nothing to do mechanically. I can barely put gas in a car.
No, you're actually better than that. I've seen you working on a car. You're pretty good.
Okay. So the funny thing was I was driving his car for 4th of July. He drove his Mustang.
Yeah.
And I realized I'm driving a car from the losing team. It's got the British flag on the side. I'm like, wait, this is stupid for July 4th. By the way, Ray says that thousands and thousands in receipts were inside that car that he bought, the Audi.
The Audi, yes. What you'll find is that whenever you go to buy any premium luxury sedan, what you're going to find, unless it's a Toyota or a Lexus, is that thousands of dollars will have been spent. A friend of mine in California inherited a 2012 Bentley. So he inherited it from his wealthy uncle. So now he's got a 2012 Bentley. It's a beautiful car, 4-door, black with tan interior, gorgeous, gorgeous automobile. So he called me. He said, "What do I do with this thing?" I said, "Well, have you driven it? Have you?" He goes, "Yeah, I drove it, but I'm afraid of it." And I said, "Well, what are you afraid of? It's just a car." He says, "The file of receipts is an inch thick." He said that the windshield wipers were $160. An oil change is $900. He said there's one receipt for almost $16,000 in suspension. Apparently, it's got this unique suspension system, suspension repair. $16,000.
That's insane.
Yeah. He said, "What do I do with it?" I said, "Get rid of it as soon as you can."
Yeah.
I said, "Just sell it." And he said, "Well, there's some sentimental value. It was my uncle's." I said, "I think your uncle gave it to you because he didn't want anything to do with it even after he died."
So the next thing I would say is, "Do you have any nephews?"
Yes.
Keep the tradition going.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, Kevin, our friend Kevin's car is interesting because his dad had the exact same car and then got rid of it. And then he went and found this car and he thinks it might be it's same year, make, model, color combination. And there was an error on the title that was also on his dad's, where an 8 was confused for a B or vice versa or something like that. So he's 99% sure it was his dad's car.
Yeah.
He's not 100%.
What year is 79?
79.
Okay.
But the 8 and the B were confused on it's hard to read on the VIN plate. So
yeah.
Ray does have a car he'd like to share as his car of the week for us. He's
all right.
A story behind it. So let's go to the car of the week.
All right.
All right. So
we're looking down at the car of the week camera. Oh, looks like a Toyota. No, is that a?
Yeah, it is a Toyota.
That's a pickup truck. Looks like an extended cab.
It's a standard cab.
Standard cab. Okay.
Toyota pickup truck.
Yeah. Speaking of durability and gonna run forever, this thing's probably got 200-some thousand miles.
It has 180, I believe.
Okay.
181,000 automatic. It's a 4x2. It's a 13.
13 4x2. 4,900.
What's that?
4,900.
That's what he paid for it.
That's what he paid for it.
Yeah. Car of the week. And let me see if I can pull this picture up. This is his window handle. And he says, and it's funny because I'm like, yeah, of course that's all it is. his comment is, "Can you believe a paper clip is all that holds this in?" Yeah, a tiny little clip holds all of them in.
Yeah, that's called, well, it's similar to a cotter pin.
Yeah, it's this tiny little clip, and the tool that you use to get it out, you just push it up like that, and it pops it out.
That's right.
And then you put it back in, and you stick it on, and it clamps.
And
it's amazing.
when you sometimes pop them out, they can fly out and land on the carpet, and they're hard to find. And then when you finally find it, you pick it up and you go, "Welcome back, Cotter," and put it back
Oh
in.
my God! Wow! Welcome back. We should end the show right there. We still have some time left.
Just for you, Dan.
If we had a producer, I'd be like, "Can you? Can you turn his mic off?"
Come on!
Welcome back, cotter pin.
You set those up. I got to knock them down.
You know, it's funny. When I first learned of the cotter pin was during the Carter administration, and I thought my dad was saying Carter pins.
Carter pin.
I thought Jimmy Carter had invented a pin.
And
it was called a Carter pin.
Actually, Billy Carter invented the.
Well, that was a beer.
Yes, he invented Billy Beer.
If you have any other questions
about cars, Billy Beer,
buying, selling, trading, leasing, credit,
former president,
refurbishing, collecting, do you have anything on Bring a Trailer this week?
I do not, but I have a motorcycle pending. So it's going to go on. It's going to go live Sunday, and it's a really unique motorcycle. It's from a local guy, fantastic motorcycle builder. He's built this vintage Honda style cafe street bike, and it's a really, really nice car, or nice bike. Super, super nice. I see you pulled up Country Squire wagons.
Yes. All right, so there's only 4 that have sold.
Yes.
So let's talk about these real quick, since we're not doing a video about we'll have the video of the car
next week.
Next week, maybe we'll drive.
Well, we'll see. If it's ready to drive, I'll put on some of my finest clothes to ride in that.
So this one is a 68.
Yeah. Are you live feeding the info?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's right there. 68. It's a Z code 390 V8. Mm-hmm. Ours is a Y code. I think the Z code is a 4-cylinder or a 4-barrel. 4-barrel.
Yeah.
So this is very similar. This one, true 94,000 miles shown, true mileage unknown, which is the same as ours.
Mm-hmm.
It's been repainted in white, wood applique trim, black interior, dual facing rear seats. This has 134A air conditioning already updated to it.
Ours has 260 air.
My dad called it 255. He drove a little slower than your dad, apparently. But yeah, this is what ours looks like. We do not have these seats, although we do have something there because
it's just an opening panel.
It's just opening?
Yeah, for extra under that area of storage.
Ours has a piece like we don't have the exhaust right there. We have to have that put on.
Yeah, but what did this one sell? This sold for like 30-some grand.
No, this one sold for $18,750.
Wow.
In 2020.
Okay.
Now, the next one that sold is this one.
Wow, that's the big dollar one.
This one sold. Let's load. This one sold. This is a black one.
Mm-hmm.
Sold for $41,000 in 2022. 48,000 miles shown. Also a Z code.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very desirable car. And that car, low mileage.
Excuse me.
Bless you. Nice combination, original, restored car. Look, our car is complete, but it's going to take $40,000 to make it a $40,000 car.
Yeah.
And we would never do that. But a good hobbyist could do it themselves. What you're going to need on our car is you're going to need a tailgate because that's got some rust. Now, you wouldn't have to necessarily replace it. But you can do that metal work. We'd have to get a real close look at it, see how crunchy it is under there. But it's got some through holes at the very bottom, which is not uncommon on these cars.
Now, this one is also a Z code.
Z code 90 is the desirable one. The most desirable is the 427.
Right. Now, this is the one that sold twice. First, it sold for $30,000 in 22. And it has 53,000 miles shown. I believe this one is a Y code, the same as ours.
Mm-hmm.
This one does have the back seats, though.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called a 9-passenger.
Mm.
This one has the Marty report.
Right.
Marty.
Which you can get. You can get a Marty for, I think, $1.25 now on any car.
Super clean.
Yeah. What did this sell for? This was like.
This one sold for $30,000 a year, 2 years ago, year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy that bought it relisted it, did this nice photograph with it.
Yeah.
Did the old, put it in the studio.
Make it look better.
Same, sale 54,000. Nugget gold vinyl, LED headlights.
Mm-hmm. 40,000 also.
No, this one sold for 40,500. So 10,500 more a year and a half later.
Not bad.
So if our car can get anything,
it just needs to get more than $500.
Well, we're gonna be at way more than 500.
That's true, but that's okay.
Well sold, somebody said.
Yeah.
This guy got a 68 Ford Ranch wagon.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the Country Squire.
That's a rare wagon.
Low option, red interior, 302
two barrel,
rotted out by 1973. Not much drive going on with 54,000 miles on 56 years, but I get your point.
Yeah. Look, a lot of these
icon
cars,
of a more civilized age.
Civilized, yes.
60s.
The 60s, very civilized. Firebombing. We won't get into the politics of whether or not the 60s were better than today. But look, a lot of these wagons were bought by families and used for local travel. A lot of families bought them, and they thought they were going to take their family on camping trips and drive across country, and that never materialized.
Right. These are the original SUVs.
Yep. And so they just were family cars. And a modern SUV is nothing more than a tall station wagon.
Yeah.
So that's basically it. And these were terrible on gas mileage. You know what the average miles per gallon was? 8 miles per gallon. And 12 would be good. Especially
double digits.
Yeah.
It's on the highway.
And nobody cared back then because gas was 28 cents a gallon.
Yeah.
And people were just pumping it in and pumping it out. You had a 20-gallon tank, and it might cost you $5 to fill your tank.
Unbelievable.
$5. And you'd fill your tank, and with 20 gallons, even at 12 miles to the gallon, 300 miles.
So what we're going to do is Tuesday, if the car's done, the goal is to have for the last Tuesday of the month, there's a big car show here on Bainbridge every last Tuesday, May, June, July, and August.
Get it to the show.
We want to get it to the show. That's the only goal we have for this one. If we can get it to the show, and I'm going to try to get a video of work as we do it. But what you and I are going to do, we're going to pressure wash it.
Yes.
You have to come over, put on your short shorts.
Yes.
Pressure wash it and clean the interior and detail the engine.
Yeah.
We have got hubcaps are here.
Yeah.
New tires.
Got
white
tires.
walls. They'll be here Tuesday.
Nick's mounting them.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got a starter.
Yeah.
We got an ignition solenoid. Starter solenoid.
Yep.
We've got rear brake shoes and rear wheel cylinders.
Well, yeah.
So we'll have brakes.
Yeah.
It'll go forward and backward.
Well, that's if the transmission's good. But I will say this. Ford transmissions, Ford automatic transmissions, they're good. They're good at sitting. They don't mind sitting. I think I've told the story before. My buddy had a 68 Mustang, sat for 15 years, automatic transmission. I started it up, primed the fuel and everything, checked the oil air, ran it over with the sparks out and all that, did all the right stuff. Fresh fuel into it, started it up. Car ran, it smoked, of course, for the first, 60 seconds.
Right.
Then the smoke cleared out. Car ran great. I put it in drive. And the minute I put it in drive, I thought, okay. And then finally it went clunk. And
okay.
Like,
you have to take it out of hibernation.
Drove it off.
Allegedly, this car was driven as a daily driver.
Daily driver.
The guy said it was his daily car.
Okay.
But then he moved. He lost the key.
We'll see. We'll see what it's got to.
I don't know.
Well, it'll be fun. If nothing else,
Yeah.
we'll get the pressure washer. We're going to have to adjust the setting. We don't want it to blast off too much. We don't
There's
want the
not
paint
much
blasting off.
It won't blast. It's not that. I don't have that. I have an electric one. I don't have a gas powered one. It'll be fine. Now, Jake says Seinfeld drove one of these with Sarah Jessica Parker and Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee.
The wagon?
Oh,
a
that's
68 wagon? We'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I'm going to pull that up on my phone.
I'm pretty sure it's not the one we have.
Not the exact one. I'm sure it's...
The best part about that car, the one we found, is it's that aqua, turquoise aqua.
Yeah.
That color is really nice on that car. Very, very nice. And we'll have to start looking around for some parts that go with it as well.
Yes.
Because they're not super hard to find. But you know what might be valuable?
That was a 76.
76. What might be valuable is finding, see if we can find a tailgate for it.
Yeah. The motor for the window is in Bellingham. He's going to give me that.
Okay.
It's with the title.
That's for the rear window.
The rear window motor.
Okay.
Not the motor for the car.
Right. And that's actually not a hard thing to replace. There's actually a little small door on the metal.
But you have to go in from the inside.
You remove that door, that comes off, and it's a panel, and then it allows you to get inside to get to the actuator and the. So
we could just fill that stuff up with that liquid foam that expands and just
sand it over it,
spray it. Door's done.
Yeah.
It's got the magic door too. Some people call it a three-way, but it's not a three-way. It's a two-way.
You want to be careful calling it a three-way.
Well, the window goes down.
Yes.
So you can reach in and grab stuff.
Right.
Then you can open it out,
and
you can open it down. Which my dad, we had a 73 Chevy Impala station wagon.
Yes.
And it did that
as well.
That too. But the window sometimes worked. I've told this story before. Sometimes worked, sometimes didn't. It would make like a weird noise. And we go, oh, check the window. And it would work.
There you go.
All right. Look at that. We hit our hour.
We hit our hour already. Wow. Who'd have thought?
Again, as we say at the end of every show, you can text us during the week.
Yes, you
have
can.
Questions, 610-CAR-YADA. You can also email us if you'd like.
Yes.
You email us at, here it is, show@caryada.com. Glenn Munger's offered to let us take one of his cars out.
Oh.
For a future show.
Well, that'll be fun. I'll tell you the one I want.
The Woody.
Yes.
That's the one that my wife used in a she had a house for sale from the 50s.
Looking car.
It's a perfect car.
Such a nice car. It's a wagon.
It's got the salmon colored
faux wood wagon.
Faux wood.
That's French.
Very faux wood.
French.
It's French. Are we going to lead up at the same time? You stay there.
I'll stay here.
I'm coming up there. So that's the show for this week. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, great. If you didn't, who cares? Wednesday night.
If you didn't like it, send your hate mail too.
Yeah. If you're around Wednesday night in the Bainbridge Island area, 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock, it's pay what you want. I think the website's set up to pay $10, but if you want to just show up, show up.
Show up.
We need audience. We're shooting a comedy special. The great Rodney Sherwood is going to come out and do a little audience warm up ahead of time.
Nice.
Then we have a little cold open that we recorded the other day, and then I'm going to come out and do my show, and then we're going to show the sitcom, and then let everybody leave, and then load in the next audience and do it all over again. Doing it twice in one night.
Twice.
That way we get enough coverage. We've got 5 cameras we'll be shooting it, 94 microphones to make sure we don't get anything screwed up like we did in the first one.
There you go.
First one, we've had a few glitches.
2 glitches.
Somebody told me, do it in black and white. Sorry. I know.
You realize, of course, it wasn't my idea.
I know. It wasn't really your idea.
All right.
We recorded that after the fact.
Yeah.
That's where the joke is.
You can clear that up.
Yeah. All right. That's all for this week. We'll see you next week right here on CarYada with Raffi and Dan.
See you next week.
Oh, wait, we have to play the ending.
Oh, yeah, we got to do that.
Here it comes.